like a G9, but I notice in pop music, they do this. They say play an F, but put a G in the bass. So, Carole King, you know, when you're down in trouble, you know that song, You Got a Friend? He sings it. They had a bet. She played piano on his album when he did Fire and Rain, and he told her she should make an album. She said, I'm not that good a singer. And he said, I'll record You've Got a Friend, and if it goes to #1, you have to make an album. It went to #1. She made the album Tapestry, which ended up at that time in the 70s to be the highest selling album ever made in the 70s. And if you look at it, it says guitar and James Taylor. So he went and played guitar for her. But in that song, she goes, to see you again. So that's G with an F in the bass. So it's really the G13 that she's doing. But nobody would understand if you wrote G13. So she writes F with a G in the bass. Going to a G. And then pop music for a 13th tends to do F major 7 with a G in the bass. Although you don't see it too much, but so the pop players play F major 7, the major 7, the G in the bass, and then we'll hear the 13th if they do that. As far as the 11th and the 13th, they're so rarely used classically in classical music that the book does say, if you want to try some other doubling, you can. It says. The 9th, that's pretty standard, is to leave out the 5th, but the 11th and 13th, it's so little used that they just say, well, if you can find a way to make it work, help yourself.
And you're right, I'm all on dominant. The normal way they appear, or can they be in any tonic?
No, just the dominant.
Just the dominant.
Yeah. If you start, maybe jazz might have a subdominant 9 or something like that, but it seems to work best. The same way a 7th works best on the dominant, the 9th and 11th work best on the dominant. I'm thinking, see, jazz might have like a tonic. Yeah, tonic major 9. I've heard that before. It sounds a little jazzy for classical. My favorite 9th is in a minor key because then if you're in, this is C major, if you're in C minor, that A becomes an A flat. So Italian opera. So dominant 9th in the minor has that A flat instead of an A. And you feel it pulling down. It pulls down. Very, very dramatic. I would probably dare anybody to find an Italian opera, Verdi, Donizetti, any of the Italians that doesn't do that somewhere. That 9th in the minor. It's just so dramatic. And it's a high note, so the tenors, of course, love it. But it's so dramatic. And so, yeah, we can have these in a major or a minor key. Could you have a secondary? You could have a secondary 9. You could have a dominant 9 of something. Since classical doesn't do the 11th and the 13th, you wouldn't see a secondary. I don't know, maybe if you dug far enough, you might find a composer who tried it, but I doubt it. But the 9th, yeah, you could, we're in C. When we go to G, you could have a 5-9 of the The same way that a seventh will always resolve downward. You remember, we talked as a general rule, when you have a seventh, a dominant seventh, a supertonic seventh, any kind of a seventh, the 7 pulls down. So does the 9. And they're a third apart, so they make a nice little.
Can you, on your 5, 9 of the 5, is the original 5 a 9 too? Not 5, 9,
You could
5, 9.
if you could if you wanted. Yeah. You could. You could have a 5, 9, a 5, take it to a 5, 9, to a 1. You could do that. What it does, these extra notes are just adding color. Think of it as color. You've got these extra sounds. They function. The 9th pulls down just like the 7th does. They lead to the tonic. But you've got a little bit more going on. The texture is a little bit thicker. Let's see. If I said that we see these on the dominant 9th, possible, the dominant is the most common 7th. What's the second most common 7th?
Supertonic.
Supertonic. So you might be able to get a supertonic 9. It's the same hierarchy as the 7th, is it works the best on the dominant, then that. But you wouldn't be able to do it with diminished. Why wouldn't you be able to do it with a diminished 7? Why wouldn't you be able to make a 7 diminished 9?
It's different than the minor thirds.
Yeah.
Well, then you have, is it fully or half diminished too? Is that?
Half diminished, remember, is kind of weak and doesn't work much. But a fully diminished. What would happen if you have a fully diminished 7 and then you go up another third for a 9?
It'd be the 6.
Augmented figure.
Okay, if you want to add a 9th to that, go up another minor third, A flat.
C flat would be.
C flat. So what paradox have you created?
Oh, there's a B and a C
Yeah.
flat.
The C flat and the B are the same. So the same way that we can't have a dominant 15, you can't have a 7 diminished 9 because when you go up another minor third, you're back on the root. It's just respelled. But other than that, the hierarchy is the same. Dominant, and it's possible it's a supertonic 9. So here's the supertonic 9. Sounds a little jazzy to the dominant, to the tonic. Supertonic 9 to the dominant 9 to tonic. You hear it sounds kind of thick and a little bit jazzy. Okay, what we'll do next time is go through this chapter, but it's about half the chapter there.
Wow.
So he keeps going through all these examples, and it's kind of convoluted. All right, I'm sorry to have to let you go early. You can go cut paper.
We'll just have to stay late next time.
No problem. We could have a harmony marathon some Friday. Have a great day.
Are you gonna bring a note?